the road, you know she's gonna start coming up with the craziest fanfic. Like this little girl right here. No. That 7-paragraph love note to Jessica, my Algebra 2 class. Wait. Guess that time we accidentally made eye contact in the hallway 2 weeks ago meant nothing to you. You wanted the Crystal Mommy Latina experience, and you got the Crystal Mommy Wait.
Alex Meyers recently made a considerably unsavory review of the movie Obsession, an indie thriller centered around themes of consent. His review has sparked some, well, actually a lot of important criticism, so let's talk about it. Stand ready for this video, worm.
Say that again?
Before we start, I want to make one thing very clear. This is not a review of the movie Obsession. I have not seen the movie, and I do not plan to watch the movie due to some personal religious beliefs. This video is an analysis and commentary on the piece of media that is Alex Meyers' review specifically. I am also not making a personal attack on Alex Meyers himself. I am criticizing a piece of media he created. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Now, my understanding of Obsession from reading the plot, watching people discuss the movie, and the situation with Alex is that a man named Bear, who's too shy to confess his love to his friend, uses a toy to wish that she would love him, quote, more than anyone in the world. The wish ends up taking over her body, forcing her to become obsessed with him against her own will. Now, Alex starts his video with this disclaimer.
Warning, this video is an attempt at a good faith, nuanced look at the fictional movie Obsession and the characters therein, which will probably upset some of you for some reason.
Now, while this does feel like a typical sassy millennial-style disclaimer, you know, the whole joking, how could you possibly disagree with me kind of humor, I actually think it highlights one of the really big issues with his approach. First, it immediately gives me the impression that anyone who disagrees with this interpretation is already being framed as unreasonable. Whether he intended that or not, it starts with basically him saying, if you criticize this review, you're wrong. And unfortunately, he doubled down on this approach later in an Instagram post. It's interesting to me that some people are so upset about my video trying to fairly examine Bear when there are hundreds of true crime podcasts that do the same thing to real-life serial killers, and women love those podcasts. Am I wrong? And then his later apology video, which, let's be honest, was barely an apology.
Getting kind of dangerous. Some of the things some of you are doing and saying.
This attitude and approach basically leaves no room for self-reflection, which again is seen in his, quote, apology video, and I personally think this lack of self-reflection is what led to him deleting the review of Obsession and the apology video. Second, from what I understand, this movie revolves heavily around consent and autonomy. I'm going to avoid saying anything too crass to avoid, getting absolutely sent to the shadow realm algorithm-wise. So very clear, this movie has heavy themes of assault, and which immediately takes the idea of a nuanced approach, like, really bad. I don't think there's such a thing as a nuanced approach to essay. There can absolutely be, like, a nuance in discussing how it happens, but I don't think there's such a thing as a nuanced approach, at least not a nuanced defense. I mean, assault is assault. Circumstances that can morally justify the abuser or what. No matter what the motivations are, there is no such thing as a defense of assault. Editing Purple here, I feel like I didn't do a good enough job explaining this, but what I mean is there's absolutely room for discussion when you're talking about what dynamics lead to assault, like they could have been abused in their past, or like certain power dynamics can lead to it, so you avoid those dynamics to protect yourself. There's absolutely room for discussion there. What I meant by there is no nuance to it is there's no such thing as a nuanced defenses. You can't say, oh, well, the abuser went through X, or victim did X, so the abuser assaulted. There is no defense there. Anyways, back to the video. And I understand that this is a dumb little YouTube video about a fictional movie. Normalizing that mindset in any situation can very easily lead to minimizing real essay. And while that definitely or might not have been Alex's intentions, you have to understand as a content creator that you have influence within your niche, so you have to be responsible with the ideas you put forward. Alex's attempt to view Bear through a more sympathetic lens hurts his media literacy pretty bad, even without seeing the film myself, based on the synopsis, Alex's review, and I can see that he completely missed the point, which can be absolutely an honest mistake, but when people pointed it out, he should have been willing to seriously engage with the criticism instead of instantly dismissing it.
And I've never claimed to be a perfect person. I've never claimed to be an arbiter of morality. I'm just a dude on.
This approach also influences one of Alex's later arguments where he says that Bear wasn't sinister from the beginning because everyone would wish for their crush to like him.
Like, he didn't wish that she would do whatever he wanted, or I wish that she would become obsessed with me and me only. He specifically wished that Nikki would love him more than anyone, which is literally what everyone who has ever had a crush wants.
But I don't think that's the important thing that this scene shows. It's what he wished for specifically. He doesn't wish for the courage to confess his feelings. He doesn't wish to get to know Nikki better. He doesn't wish for a healthy relationship. He wishes for her to love him more than anyone else in the world. That is an inherently selfish wish because it completely skips over Nikki's agency. It isn't about whether she would choose him, it's about making her feelings revolve around him.
A few other toys he's been collecting, like Bullseye the horse and Stinky Pete, and of course, Jessie the cowgirl, who is a lot.
Ha! It is you!
Please stop.
Okay, that's enough, thank you.
Everyone knows your name, Woody.
Okay, first of all, please back up. You're absolutely terrified. Now, Woody doesn't want to go to Japan, which, like, my dude, you are missing out, okay? I mean,
So Alex Meyers has had a pretty consistent formula for almost his entire decade-long career on YouTube. He watches a movie, he summarizes the plot, makes a few jokes about being friend-zoned or being a loser in high school, throws in a joke about the actor or actress being attractive,
that 7-paragraph love note to Jessica, my Algebra 2 class. You are the light in the prism of my teardrop. My heart is a child crying at the bus stop. And so forth. And then all she did was write me a note back that just said,
and then he has this cute little bald baby guy flipping around the screen while doing a wacky animation. And when a creator builds a formula for so long that works, it's very easy to just keep on repeating that formula. If you watch any of his videos, you have about a 1 in 3 chance to... Whoa, voice crack there, what the heck? If you watch any of his videos, you have about 1 in 3 chance... Oh my god! If you watch any of his videos, you have about a 1 in 3 chance to hear one of 3 jokes. A joke about him being friend-zoned in high school, a joke about him being a geek or a dweeb in high school, or a joke about an actress or an actor being attractive. And if you're really lucky, you hear all 3. It's a very specific kind of I collect waifu figures energy, and whether that's a character or genuinely him is completely his prerogative. And while I do think some of these jokes occasionally drift into distasteful objectification,
you wanted the Crystal Mommy Latina experience, and you got the Crystal Mommy Latina.
And I personally feel a lot of like kind of icky misogyny, like the layer of fat that's on a cold bowl of chili.
You know, Bonnie's still maybe at that age when, like, you play with toys like this, but, like, just a couple years down the road, you know she's gonna start coming up with the craziest fanfic. Like, this little girl right here in the butterfly room playing with Barbie and Ken. Like, you know she's over there in the...
I don't feel like that's solid evidence, because that's very interpretational. That's not why I'm bringing it up. I'm bringing it up because I don't think Alex takes himself or the things he reviews very seriously. And normally that's fine. If you're reviewing Disney Channel movies, or cheesy 90s classics, or nostalgic kid films, that style works. The stakes are low. But Obsession is a completely different beast, and yet, only a minute or 2 before the story reaches an assault, Alex stops the video to make a Crystal Latina Mami joke. That's the problem. Completely clashes with what the movie's trying to communicate. Unfortunately, this same lighthearted approach crosses over into his response to the criticism. Instead of fully addressing why people were so uncomfortable with his review, he often responded with sarcastic or blame-shifting remarks. Alex, I'm not really sure what you were trying to prove here, if I'm being completely honest, but it's very easy to excuse this review by saying Alex is just doing what he's always done. And to be fair, I think that's partly true. I spent this video talking about what I think he did wrong, also acknowledging that he was most likely just following the same formula he's used for years. But where he absolutely does need to take responsibility is that he chose to review the movie in the first place. As an online content creator, you have to understand that you are inside of a niche, and your style has weight within that niche. And when you choose to step outside of that niche, you have to understand that your approach needs to change to adapt to what you're covering. And Alex didn't adapt. Obsession wasn't a goofy Disney Channel movie or a cheesy nostalgic comedy. The responsible thing to do would have been one of 2 things. Either recognize that the movie is not in his niche and his style would not work with it, so choose not to review it or completely change his approach. Yes, the movie was incredibly popular, to the point where people who don't even watch these kind of movies heard about it. Hi, that's me. But, he wasn't forced to review it. He's not this content machine that has to make video about every new thing that's trending. He isn't forced to. This video was something that he completely chose to do. I'm having to whisper because it's like 3 a.m. while I'm recording this. Going back to like the Crystal Latina mommy joke, in his apology video, which in my opinion barely qualified as an apology, but he said that he didn't see those jokes as anything bad, or that's not the right word, worse. Anything worse than like the average Instagram reel or the Bad Bunny SNL skit.
Latina jokes were conceived by a Latino woman from Central America, and to me they seemed no more problematic than your average Instagram reel or like SNL skit, like the Bad Bunny Tia skit. To me, they seemed perfectly in line with all of that. Some people said that they were offended by those jokes. They were not meant to be as such. They were meant to be silly.
I don't think he's entirely wrong. I don't believe incorrect jokes are automatically unacceptable. Context really, really matters. Like, my best friend could call me Taco Bell Mexican because I'm mixed ethnicity, and that's funny. But if a complete stranger does that, it's like, okay, well, that was rude. Context matters for every joke, and unfortunately, when you're making a joke that could be interpreted as being very degrading to women in a review where you say some things that are kind of crazy involving a female victim, fictional but still, and then your immediate defense involves saying it wasn't bad because women listen to true crime podcasts, people kind of start to think of the phrase, if it looks like a side duck, it acts like a side duck, it might be a side duck. So yes, the relationship of the joke matters, the setting matters, and the subject matters. But criticize the solid facts of his video and the response to the criticism. You don't give any of the power to that person. Always remember, when you engage in criticism, to do it in a constructive way, not only because that makes your criticism stronger, but it keeps you emotionally safe. Anyways, thanks for watching. So, whenever I do the outro to these videos, it's usually just a minute or two of me going through more unscripted approach, kind of different. I just need to say, this video was absolutely nerve-wracking to make. Not because I think my opinion is particularly controversial. In fact, I'm pretty sure that everyone agrees that this review was like, not okay, Alex. But it's a big topic to jump into, and probably the only time you'll ever see me engaging with YouTube internet drama. I'm interested in media. And to me, this wasn't really just about a YouTuber. It was about how media can shape conversations around really serious topics, which is why I really tried to keep my personal opinions and emotions out of the essay, stay rooted in things that I could physically demonstrate, and why I didn't really spend a bunch of time talking about how I personally found some of the jokes gross. Just remember that the way we repeatedly talk about certain difficult topics affects how conversations with them work in the future. So keep your head strong and don't let yourself get consumed. Make sure to take care of yourself. And if any large creator or Alex sees this by some miracle, please remember, whether your intentions are bad or not, your words have influence. Anyways, Jesus loves you guys. I love you guys. Have a blessed and wonderful day, and bye bye.